الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. ثم الصلاة والسلام على النبي الأكرم الرسول المكرم أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله المعصومين وصحبه المنتجبين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. O people, be mindful of your Lord, who created you from a single soul, and from it he created its spouse, and through both he spread countless men and women. This is Surah Nisa, the first verse or passage of the surah. Last night, I concluded the conversation or the discussion that we had about hijab, and I reminded everyone that since at the end of the day, we are trying to establish whether one code of dress is halal or permissible and the other code of dress is not permissible, and we are talking about hukm al-shar'i, the first place that we really need to visit and ask is our marja, to see what our marja says regarding a particular style or dress code and see whether we are complying with it. Unfortunately, what happens, people seem to have this mindset that when it comes to the deen or to Islamic ruling or edicts, it's nu'minu bi-ba'd wa nakfuru bi-ba'd. We have the right to select. We pray, we don't cover. We fast, we don't pray. We pray and fast, we don't pay khums. We don't pay khums, we don't go to Hajj, etc., etc. So it's selective. You take a bite at the cherry, the one that you want, convenient to the lifestyle that you choose. With this kind of mindset, the discussion about hurma, hilliya, or whatever it is not going to be useful. We might as well forget about it. But those who really intend to understand what is going on, I left you with two chapters in the Holy Quran, Surah An-Nur and Hujurat, that you can go, all the verses regarding this code of dress are present within these two chapters. And both scholars from Shias and Sunni worlds, that they are trying to give an opinion or a fatwa regarding this code of dress, ultimately they rest their fatwa on these verses that we have within these chapters. Naturally, within the Shia world, they supplemented with ahadith from the Ahlul Bayt, and the other ones would use Sahabas or whatever it is to support their argument. But the concrete foundation of the whole idea about opinion regarding code of dress are these two chapters. Tonight, I want to kind of move away from that and focus on another topic, which I believe is extremely critical, not in its pure understanding from an Islamic law, but also in the context of, say, Western environment that we are going to live in. And that is the family structure and marriage and children. Two issues we have to deal with. First, understand what Islam says about family structure within the social structure, and what Islam prescribes as far as marriage and children, how to rear and bring up children, or how to breed and bring up children. And then see those original ideas, how should they shift around, or we must shift them around to comply or to adjust to the new environment, which we say the effect of the external factors on as a variable, use academic language, as a variable in the whole analysis of the structure. uh, on the simple form, simple model, we look at Islam and see what Islam says. Once we have established what Islam says, then how do we introduce the external factor into it as a new variable and see how this now the original model that Islam presented, can we apply it here without any modification? Or do we need to change a little bit of it? If we were to change it, would it totally destroy the original idea, which is fundamental? Or no, we can still work with it, tiptoe around the fundamentals, and introduce gradually bits and pieces within this dynamic. This is critical because if we were purely under, say, an Islamic environment, that the external factors we did not need to introduce into the argument, it was not a problem. Say, this is what Islam wants, and this is how we're going to. But the future, and I choose my words carefully, the future of Muslim generation, Muslim society, whether Shia or Sunni, in the medium to long term depends on how we deal with the family structure, with the marriage, as well as bringing up children. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salamu alayhi, in one hadith, commands us to be mindful of the change of circumstances in the future and bring up the children in a manner that they would respond. They have the capability to respond to those changes. If we are living in this society and we don't bring up children that will be able to respond to the crisis that they are going to face in society, naturally they are going to drift. Drift to what? They are not going to drift to the Islamic concept. They're going to drift to the Western concept. And within a medium to long term, gradually we have literally no children, no Islam, beyond looking the same manner that at the moment, last night and the night before, we talked about hijab. Oh, this is a cultural issue. It's not a religious issue. Then we have a generation in a medium to long term that they look at Islam as purely cultural issue. And you have the choice to follow it or not to follow it. In the same manner that the example was given last night, I confirmed to certain cultural behavior when I was back home. Now I'm in a different environment. I don't need to confirm to those cultural issues. I have a new culture. That's why I say understanding it is fundamental for the future of the Muslim community in both of its branches, Shias and Sunnis. Particularly for us, that within the what we call the milieu of the Muslim environment, we constitute the minority. So all the efforts that first generation, second generation make in establishing Imam Baras, Husseinias, mosques, and everything else, if there are no younger generation that they are prepared to grab the flag and run with it, the flag drops. Once it drops, all these buildings become white elephant that after a while it becomes empty and there is nothing you can do about it. Plenty of churches are now empty, for sale. Even synagogues are for sale. Hindu temples are for sale. Buddhist temples are for sale. Why? Because they blinked. They did not anticipate that on a medium to long term, they need to develop a strategy that teaches the younger generation how to walk and navigate through this ethical and moral minefield that they have to face. Otherwise, let's be clear. I can, within a year or two, God knows how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give me life, I'm going to go. Within my family chapter, in my family chapter, who's going to stand there and honor my values and my ethical and moral principles is the children. If we purely focus on them and keep telling them the only thing that matters is material, become a doctor, earn more money, become a lawyer, earn more money, become a dentist, earn more money, pharmacist, it gives you this or the other one, or nurse, and so on. But what about the ethical and moral principle and the Islamic values? And if we don't understand what Islam says in the original context about family structure and the relationship between marriage and children within that family, the ultimate purpose of marriage and bringing up children, if it was purely material, you put any male and female together, they have naturally they have children out of it. You don't need to do anything. Mushroom, they grow. You don't. It's not cracking an atom or something. The natural tendencies. It's what Islam wants from this kind of relationship. So we need to here go for a little bit digression. No doubt that the creation of a balanced and a stable society and social structure is one of the most fundamental objectives of Islam. And since family is the nucleus of a society, naturally Islam has something to say about how the family structure to be organized. The question is, we have to ask ourselves and go to Islam, what are the functions which Islam wants the institution of family to perform in the lives of individuals and society? You get married, simple. Okay, you establish a small family or the nucleus of it, but what is the function and the role of this small structure? What are they supposed to do? I go to work from 6 o'clock in the morning and come back at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And my wife does the work inside the house. And after that, I come tired, she's tired. We sit down and a little bit of chat and we go, each one to go to sleep. And the kids are left by themselves. Is that they allow the kids? You only become the financial provider at best if you do your responsibility properly. Is that the ultimate function, or there is something else? The family, do we look at the family as purely a factory for procreation? Just have more children and children and children. That's it. And mashallah, our community members, whether Iraqis, Iranians, Pakistanis, Afghanis, and others, they are very quick in saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and producing as many as they want. Without thinking, the more I have, the more responsibility I have on my shoulder. How do I deal with it? So family or marriage becomes purely a factory for procreation. Is that the ultimate goal? Islam says procreation is one of the functions of the family. Why? Because ultimately it is a process for survival of human race. At any moment that you interrupt it, that's the end of the world. So that is part of it. But what matters is what goes beyond this. What goes beyond this? Allah has created this mechanism within this proper union of a man and a woman to be able to function as to produce within the basic family unit. But the question is, and the verse that I recited earlier, Ya ayyuhan nas ittaqu rabbakum. You have be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida, one soul, and from the same soul, khalaqa minha zawjaha. Your spouse was created from the same thing. There is no something that the Jewish tradition would say ribs of the Adam and so on. And the same soul, man, female. وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً. That basic unit became the mechanism for the procreation and increasing numbers necessary for continuation of the human race. So balancing between this idea, which is necessary, the preservation of human race, and something else which is fundamental, which we normally miss. If we have problem in, and I believe a hadith that states Khalaf al-Salih, then the generation that is going to come after you, that they will be morally and ethically steady and follow the instruction, starts before marriage, when you start searching for your partners. If you don't understand, if you purely look at your partner, whether male or female, if you somebody is a woman, looks at, well, he has a good physique, he is good income, he is working, is this, is that, but the mental, spiritual component we never calculate. Family structure in Islam is for the spirituality. When the hadith says that when you marry, you will save and protect half of your deen. So it clearly states that it's the spiritual component which is more critical than purely physical. We tend, in the woman, we tend to look at this candidate as how beautiful she is, how rich the family is, how educated she is. We never think about, what about the spiritual part of it? What about akhlaq? What about the love of Ahlul Bayt? Etc., etc. Particularly in arranged marriages. This has to be with this is my cousin, and so on, and the consequences. It doesn't matter whether the husband or the wife falls within the concept of kufr in Islam, which means it doesn't work kufr on the material principle. It works on the spiritual principle. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها. So your partner becomes, or your wife becomes, the source of tranquility and sukoon. And tranquility and sukoon comes from ala bidhikrillah tatma'innul qulub. If my partner, when it comes to Allah, she is far away, what kind of a sukoon is going to be provided for me within this relationship? So one of his signs is that he created for your spouses from yourself so that you may find comfort and tranquility in them. Now, the function of childbearing remains incomplete without more important child rearing and upbringing. And upbringing does not purely rest on education, orientation, and so on. Religion and spirituality plays a major role in the creation. Religion, if spirituality is not there, and you can't bring two people together right from the beginning that they never thought about spirituality in the first place, and then now I want Khalaf al-Salih that comes out of this relationship, Salman Farsi, to come out. It's not going to happen. If the father is not close to Islam, if the mother is not close to Islam, and sometimes they are convert and they have very little information about Islam, it's our fault that we didn't provide this information to them. But that's the fact. Sometimes they know better than what we call the genetic Muslims. But if parents, they don't possess the necessary requirement spiritually, then naturally the spiritual, moral, and ethical values, children, they are not going to have. We have an expression in Arabic, فاقد الشيء لا يعطي. If you don't have it, you can't give it. So what we need to do, والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين. O Lord, bless us with pious spouse and offspring who will be the joy for our heart and our soul. Under what circumstance we are going to have such an offspring? If right from the beginning, when I was searching for the partner, I did not pay attention to the concept of morality and spirituality. I only looked at, she has 6 figures some income, or whether she is beautiful, or she is this or the other, and the girls would do the same thing. He looks okay because I have seen him in my class without looking at the background to see how did he grow, what kind of principles were used in their household? Was he or she a person that spirituality mattered for them? If your wife, before she comes to you, does not pray, let me make this straight, does not pray Salatul Layl, even occasionally, there is a question mark. If they don't recite Quran ever in their life, they haven't recited Quran, no matter if they are the daughter or the son of whoever they are, we have a problem later on in life. Why? Because life is full of what they call curveballs, difficulties. When the situation gets tough, it's only the heart which centers on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can stay. In الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا, can stay. Otherwise, snaps. And unfortunately, within this is the area that we go to sleep and we lose sight. We simply look at the material things without understanding that there are other issues more important. On the list of ahadith that we see, it's not that they don't pay attention on the beauty and physical reality of husband and wife. They do, but they don't put it on the top of the list. Few of them, I'll inshallah carry with this tomorrow. The first one that they talk about is the key qualities is deen and faith. The core of a successful marriage should be her relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's regarding the wife, and the same thing goes for the husband. This factor cannot be overstated. The love of Ahlul Bayt must be there. Otherwise, we have a problem. The next one is akhlaq. In the short term that you interact, look at the family, how they behave. Is there element of respect in it? Do parents understand how to behave towards each other? Does the mother respect the husband and the husband respects the wife? Look at the environment. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullah salamu alayhi. Stay away from the rose that has been grown up in a trash area. A metaphor. Physically, it's a rose, but fed from where? The undercurrent is garbage. You take it, you have a rose that come out of garbage. When the crisis starts, it's still the garbage that comes out. It's here that we normally miss the point. As they say, we go to sleep. And the next one, akhlaq. Haya and modesty. If you stay away and you look at this, whether a boy or a girl in their social interaction, there is no modesty, there is no chastity. Free flow for everyone. Even if she is the queen of beauty of the world, still is useless. Akhlaq and modesty. Because why? Your future generation, your partner is going to be the father of your children or the mother of your children. And is going to be the individual that is going to bring peace and tranquility to the relationship. Your children are going to learn from one or the other to become how to behave morally and ethically if they are absent. If right from the beginning, these factors, akhlaq, haya, and iffa, and modesty, and so on, doesn't exist, look at their parents again. Do they have such thing? Spirituality again comes. A wife or a husband that really wants to purify their soul and act according to the hadith that says marriage is going to be completion of your faith, half of it, you save half of your faith. If you fall asleep and she comes to you and says, honey, get up, it's prayer time, it's Salatul Layl, or love, get up. It's a recitation of Quran. Then we have a possibility of Khalaf al-Salih. And inshallah, I'll talk about this tomorrow night. But according to Ahadith, the first step in the strategy of bringing up children that ultimately we can call Khalaf al-Salih is when we search for our partners. If we miss it, why is it that within the Shia community, the divorce rate these days are approximately in Dearborn around 45%? 45%. I have had to deal with cases only 6 months of marriage. 6 months. Another case which was extremely severe, 4 days. And this is in cases where they have met each other at school and talked about future, so-called, and so on. 4 days later, they come up for breathing oxygen, and that's it. We have a fun now. These are the second factors that come in. We go first to the Islamic one, inshallah. We talk about what Islam wants, and now then we say, okay, what will happen if now the crisis that we have to deal with is introduced in here? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we get closer and closer to the end of the month, to grant us the privilege of continuing with our tazkiyah and purification of the soul, and tawbah in particular, inshallah. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. Oh Lord, don't punish us if we were to forget or go make mistake or go astray. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.